Uncle Sam's air power must be strong enough to preserve it. We are ready to fly, prepared to strike at any aggressor immediately. The aggressor or would-be aggressor must know in advance that his first thrust will draw swift and devastate. I believe, and I think you do too, that our ability to protect ourselves through air power is our best peace insurance policy. But air power means more than Army and Navy air forces. It means every activity that will strengthen U.S. aviation. A well-balanced, well-financed commercial airlines serving as a market for new types of equipment. The research to develop such equipment, the manufacturing facilities to make it, trained personnel skills, and know-how. For we need a limitless pool of young men skilled in every branch of aviation. Civilian and military aviation must work together. In fact, that's the purpose of this picture you're about to see, to show the inseparable relationship between commercial flying and military aviation, and their parallel growth into air power, which, if I may repeat the thought, means peace power.
Yes, I see what you mean, Mr. Kent. Air power.
It's bigger than most people realize. That's why I'm sending you out to get all the facts about it. Complete story on aviation, past, present, and future. It's a subject that everybody's interested in. Some new angle, some new improvement or advance is cropping up all the time. And yet, there's no one place where you can get the whole story. And that story should be told. Told now, today. Like a lot of other people, I once thought I knew what aviation meant. Back when I flew one of these in the First World War, a French Spad. The first high-speed fighter plane, famous by Captain Eddie Rickenbacker, World War I's ace of aces and today's dean of aviation. But that was more than 30 years ago. Much has happened fast in aviation since then. Too much and too fast for most of us to realize how far we've come, what it means to us, and how far we're still going to go. And we should know. We must know if we're going to take full advantage of all that's in store for us. For aviation has come of age, exercising a tremendous and increasing effect on mankind, bringing us to the threshold of a magnificent future. And that's the story we want to tell. The one I want you to go out and get. Where we've been, where we are, and where we're going by air.
Now that first part, where we've been, the history of aviation, how much emphasis shall we put on that part?
History of aviation is very important. I've had the research department working on just that for several weeks. Betty?
Yes, Mr. Kent?
Bring in the aviation file, will you please?
Right away, Mr. Kent.
You see, Johnson, the history of aviation has been written in headlines. Dramatic, colorful, significant. Now, let's point up that significance.
Here you are.
Thank you, Betty. Did you get all your material together?
Yes. I think you'll find that quite complete.
Good. Well, for example, this is what I mean. Give that to Mr. Johnson. How many of us realize what really happened on that day? The day the Wright brothers first flew. At that moment, for the first time in history, man entered into a new element, the air. in order to get from one place to another, and all the puttering and tinkering that went into the development of pioneer flying. World War I. That was when aviation gave us the first demonstration of its power as a weapon of destruction, and first brought to the attention of the world great aviation leaders like Captain Eddie Rickenbacker. Then the 20s, when aviation spurted ahead. The first mail flight, important on two counts: the start of faster communication and the beginning of commercial aviation. The mammoth air industry we have today grew literally from a postage stamp. Lindbergh's flight, success over previous failure, fulfillment of an aviation dream, wing over vast reaches of water, the emergence of other famous names, heroes and legends in aviation, each one contributing much, many of them still contributing today. The beginning of regular scheduled passenger service, short hops, stepping stones to future greatness. Technological skills swiftly transformed this development period into national prominence, and keeping pace an entire new industry, one sparked by free enterprise, built by free men thinking freely, built from the ground up in a handful of years, an industry devoted to better and ever-increasing air transportation. Planes by the thousands, progressing through hundreds of designs, growing better, faster, more dependable, carrying more and more of the world on wings. Then another war, with air power wielding the greatest blows ever seen in history. Decisive blows for victory that beat entire nations to their knees, and decisive blows for peace that shortened those years of conflict by speeding transfer of men and materials, and by hastening global command decisions. For without air transport, leaders and nations never could have conferred together with such speed and effectiveness. Now we have peace, but where do we stand? What's going on in this age of air? That's the story I want. Where we are now and where we're going. Get the idea?
Right. And it's a honey of a story. It's one that's interesting from every angle.
Everybody's interested in aviation. And aviation has an influence on everybody, one that's growing all the time. Keep that in mind when you're writing your story.
Okay, and I'm going to get some first-hand information. I've already arranged to take a ferry flight to Miami with a friend of mine, Harvey Bond.
Oh, fine. Wait a minute, did you say Miami?
Mm-hmm.
Good. See Eddie Rickenbacker, he's there now. I told him about our story, and he'll be glad to help you.
Well, say, that's a break. Well, thanks for the tip, Mr. Kent. Goodbye.
Good luck.
Jim.
Hello, Harvey. How are you?
Fine. Been waiting long?
No.
How long do you suppose it's going to take you to write this story, Jim?
Well, that depends upon how much information I can get from you and Captain Rickenbacker. And incidentally, Harvey, I appreciate you letting me in on this ferry flight.
Glad to have you along. You'll probably pick up some information on this flight you can use in your story.
Well, I hope so.
There she is.
We're certainly going first class.
For my money, Jim, you're looking at the greatest ship in the world right there. I've flown just about all of them, and believe me, the answer to a pilot's dream is this new type Constellation. It's tops.
Well, you're sold on it. Now sell me.
I'm going to let your first ride sell you.
LaGuardia Tower, Eastern Airlines, Flight 6, ready for takeoff. Over.
Eastern Airlines, Flight 6, LaGuardia Tower, cleared for takeoff. Over.
Ready to roll. Up gear.
Up gear.
METO power.
METO power. Up flaps.
Climb power.
Climb power.
Wow, you only took half the runway in that takeoff.
That's right. Takes off in the shortest run of any large passenger airliner in existence. Climbs better than 1,800 feet a minute. Improved wing design gives the plane greater lift. Take over, Charlie.
Right.
Let's go aft. Here, Jim. We can talk better in here.
Yeah, go ahead, Harvey. What were you saying about a new wing design?
Well, this new wing design permits shorter and easier takeoffs, more dependability in flight, and easier handling.
More dependable. Flies more easily. What else?
What else? There's a lot more. I'll tell you what, Jim, let's start at the beginning. In the first place, you should know how well this plane is built.
All the skill, ability, and experience at the command of the great Lockheed organization went into it. And a lot of research, testing, and proving. Years of it. Millions of dollars worth. Each individual part had to prove itself under conditions far beyond what they'll ever have to face in actual operation.
Each system. So did the completed plane.
The result is proven performance in billions of miles flown. Tried and proven performance.
In addition to being rugged, this plane is powered right. That's important because power, continuous smooth power, an ample reserve of power, determines the dependability of the plane. And power plus, dependability plus, is what we've got in the new type Constellation. 4 18-cylinder engines, each one as powerful as a railroad locomotive.
These great Wright Cyclone engines with more than 100 records to their credit power the new type Constellation. 4 such mighty engines with a total of 10,000 horsepower.
Now near the end of her carefully guided journey from a dream to reality, the plane gets her final touches. Proud colors for a proud ship. Fittings and appointments worthy of a queen of the air. Ease and luxury built into the world's fastest and most powerful airliner, the world's most dependable airliner. No matter which individual airline she is destined to join, the new type Constellation will reign supreme in international air travel. These are just a few of the many famous airlines she serves. Trans World, Pan American, American Overseas, BOAC, KLM, Air France. She's worthy in every respect of the title which has been given her, Queen of the Atlantic, in recognition of her daily transocean service, her thousands of crossings and the non-stop transatlantic service which only she provides. Before she travels anyplace, though, the plane has one final test to pass, the Airplane Flight and Acceptance Test. And it's here you'll see just what a terrific combination this merger of plane and power can be.
A terrific combination. Merger of plane and power.
Oh, one more thing. Though we still have plenty to do, the captain and pilot have more time for flight in this plane than ever before. The reason for that is a new member of the crew, the flight engineer. By taking responsibility for engine performance, eliminates by 60% the number of instruments the captain and pilot must constantly check. I'm going to demonstrate what I mean by great stability, ease of control, and excellent balance. I'll take over, Charlie.
Right.
Feather number 1.
Feathering number 1. Number 1 feathered.
Feather number 2.
Feather number 2. Number 2 feathered.
2 engines out, and she purrs right along.
Well, how can she stay up with only 2 engines?
That's what I mean by reserve power. Plenty of it. Feather number 3.
Feathering number 3. Hey, wait a minute. Number 3 feathered.
1 engine.
And she still maintains smooth, steady flight.
That, my friend, is Performance Plus.
Performance Plus.
Without a doubt, this plane is the world's most dependable airliner. Well, there's Miami. Ready to unfeather numbers 1, 2, and 3.
Miami Tower, this is Eastern Airlines Flight 6, 4 miles north of field, 3,000 feet. Request landing clearance. Over.
Well, I'm sold. It's a great ship.
Yes, and more of the world's leading airlines are flying them today for the benefit of you, the passenger.
Makes us sound pretty important.
You are. You, the passenger, are the reason for all that Eastern Airlines is and does. You see, pleasing you, the customer, is what motivates the combined efforts of many thousands of people. Eastern Airlines' entire staff, working to make sure that you get fast, comfortable, and convenient transportation. For instance, for your convenience, we've made the buying of a ticket as easy as making a phone call. That's all you have to do to book passage to any air terminal in the world. From that moment on, an army of trained specialists takes over. Some of them serve you in our reservation office where your flight really first begins, and others at maintenance bases where the plane you were to board undergoes a rigid and never-ending routine of maintenance, of testing and checking. This operation is duplicated in every great city of our system. As takeoff time approaches, more specialists. This time, a nationwide staff of weather experts contribute further dependability to your flight. A large airline and government organization works around the clock for your security. Flight time and still more specialized attention to see that you and your flight depart smoothly, efficiently, and on time. Personalized attention from ticket agents, cargo handlers, loading attendants, ground crew, all working together as a team. Your team. Their principal concern being to get you to your destination as speedily and comfortably as possible. And off you go, airborne, a passenger on the international highway of the sky, in the competent hands of another crew of experts, our flight personnel, ensuring you the best in safe, speedy, and comfortable travel, relaxed and riding on top of the world. Experts skilled in catering to your pleasure. Things to read, yours for the asking. Pillows,
writing materials, delicious meals graciously served. A very special guest of the line from takeoff to landing. Does that give you pretty much what you wanted to know, Jim?
Well, it gives me a good start. Now all I need is a place to sit down where I can pound it all out in the old typewriter while it's fresh in my mind.
Why not choose my office? You can have the place to yourself.
Oh, thanks, Harvey. Give me the information and furnish the place to work.
Just don't ask me to write it, huh?
I'll write it. Oh, one more thing. If you see Captain Eddie...
I'll take care of that just as soon as I check in.
Right. Let's see now. This is a new age, the age of air. One that we are more and more coming to recognize as the most significant in the history of the world. And rightly so. Because nothing has so left its mark on every phase of life and living, major and minor, as this, man's power of flight. With it, we have opened doors to all the industrial areas of the planet, to the world's agricultural areas, and to its pleasure spots, bringing them within hours and minutes of all of us. With it, we have built new concepts of time, there today or home tonight, enabling us... Hello, Captain Eddie.
Hello, Jim. How's the story going?
Well, I've just been typing up some of the information that Bond here has given me. He's given me a swell start.
It was a pleasure, Jim. Now I'll turn you over to the captain.
Oh, thanks, Harvey.
So long.
Well, Captain Eddie, I could use some help from you.
Fire away, Jim. You know I'm in your corner.
All right, Captain. What I'd like to know is, just what is the future of aviation?
Jim, there isn't any future in aviation.
No future in aviation?
That's right. The future's here today. The thing to remember, Jim, is that the future of aviation is not created out of the mists of tomorrow. It is built through today's and yesterday's sweat and work, through trial and error. Come here a minute. Jim, out there is an example of what I mean. The famous DC-3 was a milestone on the road to the future. The entire industry was virtually built around it. The DC-4 is a step toward the future. Another step, even more recent, is the Douglas DC-6. And on top of the pyramid of airline flight is the mighty new type Constellation, the ship that has greater stability, more rugged design and structural strength, and really more dependable than any airliner now in service. The airborne bridge between today and tomorrow, between the past and the future. I've seen much happen in aviation during my lifetime. But it's nothing compared to what's coming. Just as it's a far cry from those pin-feather warbirds of World War I to those we test today, so will tomorrow's planes outscale today's. This too is important. The success of future aviation also lies in our nation's capital. With proper government research and financial support, we should and will develop planes that can fly halfway around the world in less than 12 hours, or cruise between New York and Florida within a single hour. But let me repeat, such progress as this will take government aid. For neither the aircraft industry or the commercial airlines have the money it takes to pioneer tomorrow's super planes. For example, it would cost at least $25 million to develop a jet-propelled airliner as large as the Constellation. Such expenditures can be made only by our government. just as they were made, and still are being made, to other forms of transportation. Just as they were made to the automotive industry in the form of highway improvements, and just as they were made to the railroad industry in terms of land grants. To attain the same kind of progress, aviation must have encouragement from federal, state, and local governments. And here's something else to keep in mind. By reducing the United States to the size of Pennsylvania, plane speeds have increased the human understanding of our country. Now, swiftly and cheaply, all of us are able to travel more, thereby know and understand more about each other than any other people on Earth. In the same way, by shrinking the world to 1/10 its previous size, aviation can help advance global solidarity, world unity, and international peace helped by travel-borne understanding. So will tomorrow's planes and tomorrow's aviation industry create still different and even more significant concepts of this world in which we live and the manner in which we do our living. It is a future which is limitless. Finally, the future in terms of the all-important question of air power must be considered and faced squarely. In modern warfare, issues are settled by long-range technological aviation developments. Test pilots are taking the dreams of designers aloft. Sure, there are problems, but brain power will find answers in the future. Today, the price of freedom is eternal vigilance in air power, research, and engineering. Three-dimensional warfare, warfare at super speeds, super altitudes, and super striking impact, is centered on air power. Its core is jet and rocket aircraft, guided missiles, electronic weapons, and atomic weapons, with small but devastating atom bombs forming the line of attack in any future war. America would have a formidable reserve of air power in being by fostering big fleets of large, fast, and far-ranging airliners. And we'd be a nation of ostriches not to realize that other nations in other parts of the globe are doing just that, and right now. As to the chances of our survival in case of another war, the mathematics of survival are as simple as they are uncompromising. Plane power production plus military air power plus commercial and civilian flying power equals peace power. A power that's truly a messenger of commerce, insurance for peace, and ambassador of one world friendship and solidarity. The universal highways of air around this shrinking world can and must ultimately serve the brotherhood of man for the interchange of ideas and ideals. To say this cannot be done, my answer is the very existence of aviation is proof that man, when he has the will to do, has always been able to accomplish the things that can't be done.